All right, good evening, everyone. This is the May 11th, 2022 meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission. We are operating as a hybrid format, which means some people are in attendance, others are participating remotely, and this is under Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022. The public can join the meeting remotely by telephone by dialing 1-408-650-3123 and using access code 942-845-549, or you can join via computer at gotomeeting.com/join/942-845-549. So meeting materials for tonight's meeting have been provided to members of the commission and are also available on the town's website. And the public is encouraged to follow along using our posted agenda. My name is Michael Garland. I'm chairman of the Conservation Commission. And before we start tonight's meeting, let me confirm that the following members are in attendance tonight. So when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tom Fallon?
Here.
Michelle Colross?
Here.
Patrick Cunningham?
Here.
Megan Langley?
Here.
Okay. I don't see Catherine Norberg. Catherine, are you here?
She's just right here.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
You snuck up on me. All right, we have a quorum. All right, and then we have town officials and employees participating, so when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Our clerk, Keith Hesselton.
Here.
And DDIS Director, Darlene Coyle, hiding under a baseball cap. All right. All right, everyone. And before we start, I have to ask if anyone is recording this meeting. And no one is responding in the affirmative, so that's good. Also note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television and can be seen at a later date on the town's website. So if there are people who are going to be participating remotely, when you join in, please state your name and also where you live or what your address is. All right, the first item on tonight's agenda is a 7 p.m. public hearing. Anthony Benvenuti for a request for determination to build a garage between 50 and 100 feet from a wetland resource area at 795 Oxford Street South. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. This is a matter, we had actually closed a public hearing at our last meeting on April 27th. We did not, I think we were short a quorum in terms of acting on the request for determination, but we had seen the materials. We had actually gone out to the property to make a site walk. So is there a motion?
To the chair, yep. I would like to make a motion
Sure, no worries.
to issue a negative determination of applicability, provided that they use erosion control measures as shown on the plan and that they're implemented.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, that was Michelle. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, so, hold on, let me turn the speaker down so I can't hear myself.
Megan, you're on mute. Megan? Hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, could you not hear me? I'm sorry.
No, we could not hear you, so we can hear you now.
Okay, start over. So, and I just was kind of curious in like the precedent for previous decisions in which the impacts have been to areas between the 50 and the 100-foot buffer zone. If it's been more or less kind of a standard practice to issue negative determination in those situations.
Okay, so you've been breaking up a little bit. I think I understand the gist of your question, so let me answer it this way. We have and enforce a 25-foot no-build zone. Our jurisdiction is within 100 feet of a wetland or resource area. The applicant is proposing to build a structure that is located between 50 and 100 feet. The plan that's been submitted shows erosion control measures being put in place between the wetland area and the area of construction. And so because that would be considered buffer zone activity, this would be the type of project that would normally qualify for a negative determination of applicability. Does that answer your question?
Can you repeat the last part one more time?
Sure. Because the construction activity is beyond the 25-foot no-build zone, and because it's actually construction activity within the buffer zone with erosion control measures that are shown and will be put in place between the area where the construction is going to take place and the wetland resource area, it has been the normal practice of our board to issue negative determinations of applicability.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions? There being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's a vote. The next item on our agenda is the 7:05 public hearing. Also, Anthony Russell, determination of applicability to fill and grade a dirt driveway with gravel within 50 feet of Kettlebrook at 47 Rockland Road in Auburn. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. Mr. Russell, are you here? So, Mr. Russell, we did close the public hearing on April 27th, but I think there was a request from at least one board member that you provide us with, I think, a scope of work of how you were going to go about filling and grading the dirt driveway and what steps you were going to take to keep any construction out of the wetland area.
Well, naturally, we would put up silt fence.
Okay.
There's a section which is within approximately 50 to 60 feet of Kettlebrook. And so we were proposing to put 200 lineal feet of silt fence at that section because the entire driveway is in excess of 1,000 feet. But at the entrance off of Rockland Road, there is significant distance that there's definitely should not be any impact whatsoever from the work that we're proposing.
Okay.
The section that's closest is what specifically we're proposing, not to be redundant with you, is approximately 200 lineal feet of silt fence. It also, in addition to that, I'm hoping that you may have had a chance, an opportunity to walk the site. There is significant brush, debris, growth on both sides, or should I say the side of the brook itself.
Right.
Therefore, that's not going to be disturbed on that side. And that also, in addition, should provide a significant buffer, or should I say protection, is the term that I'm searching for.
Okay.
And again, not to be repetitive with you, but we've been doing this in excess of 30 years, and I don't recall of any time that we've ever disturbed, or should I say anything have run off into the brook,
All right, very good.
if that's acceptable to you.
Yes, sir. All right, well, we'll be making a decision tonight, so thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
You too. So is there a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we issue, I'm sorry, give me one moment.
No worries.
Here. I make a motion that we issue a negative determination of applicability for the applicant for the driveway. And my reason is that I believe it's low impact. I believe that the gentleman, just in discussing the narrative of what he plans to do, is acceptable as a scope of work in the recording of this meeting. And in doing so, putting in 200 lineal feet along the edge, looking at the plan, I believe would be suitable. And he's done this work in the past. And I'm grateful that he came before the board tonight, because it's been a long time. You know, it's been, from what I understand, 40 years. So I believe what he's presented to us is acceptable. And I make a motion that we issue a negative determination.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, can we just get documentation of that, a letter, just to refer back to reference?
Okay, Megan, I hate to say this, but we call like every maybe second or third word. So can you repeat that?
Yes. Can we just get documentation of that scope of work that he described for future reference? Just a simple letter, that's all.
Documentation
So-
of the scope of work.
Okay, again, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking for. When you say a scope of work, are you saying in the future or in connection with this negative determination of applicability?
Well, we're agreeing that what he's saying he's going to do is acceptable.
Right.
Is there just something that we can have to document what exactly that is so that we can have it as a reference for
Other than,
I don't really have an answer for that because it's, I mean, I think again, this is really the paving, well, not even paving, the grading of the driveway is again buffer zone activity. We have walked the site and there is a substantial area of brush and grass that separates the driveway from the edge of Kettlebrook. I think at its closest point, it is probably 50 feet. I think, you know, and Tom's motion did incorporate the issuance of the negative determination with the condition that 200 linear feet of silt fence be constructed at the closest point between the driveway and Kettlebrook. And again, I think so I don't know that a scope of work is really necessary here. I think something like that is something we would normally encounter with an order of conditions or if someone filed a notice of intent. So I think where this is really, again, buffer zone, we have jurisdiction because it's within 100 feet of Kettlebrook, but it's really strictly buffer zone activity with no wetland impact. I think the motion that Tom has made, providing for the lineal feet of silt fence at the closest point should be sufficient.
actually,
And through the chair,
Okay, can we at least have it noted in the minutes what that action is? We have something for back.
through the chair?
Yes.
I do have a letter in my hand here that, in the applicant's response when we sent him the enforcement order. Basically, it's not quite as descriptive describing what he plans to do as far as the 200 lineal feet of fence. What if we do put this on file with our record in this newest, if we issue this newest negative determination, I believe this would be sufficient. Because it describes basically what the gentleman was proposing to do.
And what's the date of the letter?
The date of this letter is, it just says, RE request of a determination of applicability 4/7/2022 from J. Russ Corporation. And this was provided to all the members.
Right, I remember that. All right, so how about this? Can you amend your motion to incorporate that the work will be done in accordance with the letter sent by just J. Russ Corp. In response to our enforcement order?
I'll make that motion to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so Megan, do you understand what we're doing? We're incorporating Mr. Russell's letter in which he responded to our enforcement order, setting forth what the plan was for the work to be done at the property.
Sounds great, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. So we have Tom's motion as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming in. The next item on tonight's agenda is request for determination of applicability by Zachary and Serena Kilsmith to build an addition within 45 feet of an intermittent stream at 85 Rochdale Street in Auburn. Is there a motion to open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 It's a vote, and I see Mr. Kilsmith is joining us remotely. Good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening. Sorry I can't make it. I'm traveling this week.
Okay, we can kind of hear you.
Okay. Is this any better?
Yeah, why don't you just, keep talking, and hopefully we'll be able to hear you a little bit better. So anyway, it's my understanding that you have not received the DEP file number yet for this. So we couldn't.
That is correct.
So we could not issue any, we couldn't do any action tonight anyway if we wanted to. I don't know that any members of the commission have been out to the property. What we normally do, Mr. Kilsmith, is that when we get an application like yours, we do make a site walk. I don't know if you're going to be available this weekend. If you're not, I understand because we all live busy lives. But our plan would be to just go to the property, look at your submission, make a determination whether or not we would issue a negative determination or feel the need to issue a positive determination. But that's our standard operating procedure. Will you be available this weekend?
I probably will not be present until Sunday night.
Excuse me. Do you have any objection?
You're available. You're free to-
What I was going to say, sir, is do you have any objection to any of us going out to the property, say on this Saturday?
You're free to walk the property.
Okay. And so we have your assent then to continue this to our next hearing, which is on May 25th?
Yes.
Okay. Keith, what does our agenda look like for May 25th?
I believe we have just one additional item at
Okay,
this
so
point.
why don't we schedule Mr. Kilsmith for 7:05 on 5/25? So is there a motion?
Make a motion to continue the hearing to 5:25 for next meeting.
Okay, and that'll be at 7:05. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, all right, Mr. Kilsmith, thank you for joining us. I know you're traveling. Appreciate the fact that you joined us, and we will go out this weekend, take a look, and then we've continued the matter to our next meeting, which will be on May 25th at 7:05 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay. For other business, we've received a request for certificate of compliance for 13 Hallstrom Court, so we should go and take a look.
I'm not going to be here.
Except for Michelle, who apparently finds convenient ways never to be around.
Oh, wait. He wanted to talk about this. He was here.
Yeah, he was here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This gentleman would like to speak on the 85 Rochdale item.
Okay, so, sir, we haven't had an opportunity to go out there and check it out. I didn't mean to, I'd cut you off, and I didn't realize that you wanted to be heard on this.
Well, no, it wasn't that. I got the letter. And I'm in support of it,
Okay,
100%.
Okay.
I just don't want to come back, 25th where I came up and I'm surprised nobody else came here. And even him, if you want something, you're going to be here.
Yeah.
right. Okay, well,
Just, for me to come back up, which I'm for it,
Okay.
where you can make they took my name.
I have your name.
You
Yes.
got your name?
I
Okay.
did
do you
get
have
your
a-
name.
Do you have a computer? Is this something could you do this remotely? Because we, come on up. We make arrangements, right here is fine. We make arrangements for people to join us remotely. They call in or they can go on their computer and then In fact, that's what Mr. Killsmith did
No,
tonight.
no, I realize that. I don't even know how to work any of that
Okay,
stuff.
all right.
But I'm here if you can make it, that, I'm for it.
And what's your name and what's your address?
James O'Connor.
Okay.
I got one of those letters, so I'm surprised nobody else showed up.
And what's your address, Mr. O'Connor?
81 Rochdale Street.
Okay.
Just like I've been having surgery after surgery, and it's just getting.
No, I understand, sir. Okay, so we'll note that you are in
Oh,
favor
no,
of this.
I'm for it 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
I know the area, and, if there's a problem, I would say something.
Sure.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Thank
for the
you.
great-
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a good night.
All right, so we should take a look for at 13 Hallstrom Court. For 17 Mill Street, we have received a request to extend the order of conditions.
Was this the one that was right next to Sear Electric, Mike, on Mill Street?
I think it
And he was
was.
gonna build a garage, but he
Yeah.
never did?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we issued an order of conditions back on July 17th of 2018. There was because of COVID, their orders were extended. It's my belief that the request has been submitted in a timely manner. So is there a motion to grant the request of Longwood Development Corporation to extend the order of conditions for 17 Mill Street?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. Okay. The next item on our agenda is 10 Rotary Road. I see that Mr. DeButis is with us. We did receive a letter from Mr. Woods from the Auburn Water District, which should be in your packets, in which he indicated that the Water District, although there was an encroachment on their property, they felt it was de minimis. Mr. DeFutis apparently had made certain representations to them regarding steps he would take to, I think, protect district property, prevent erosion, that sort of thing. So it appears that the Water District is satisfied with the situation involving Mr. DeFutis. Having said that, we still have the central issue here, which was with that what was built by the applicant deviated substantially from what was submitted to us and which was approved by us. There was an opportunity, the applicant had an opportunity, once he realized his plans were going to change, to come back before us to seek an amendment, which he did not do. And frankly, at this point, were the applicant going to come before us to obtain a certificate of compliance for the property, he would not receive one. So I think we've all given this a lot of thought. We've been out to the property more than once. My opinion, again, I'm speaking only for myself, Mr. DeFutis, and not for the board, and I invite other commissioners to join in. I think you should restore the property to what you should on your original plan. I think we'd be willing to give you sufficient time to do it. Probably, I was thinking the date of July 1st, which would be about 6 weeks or so to do it. And really, that's how I feel at this point. I just think that, ignorance of the law, to cite the cliche, is no excuse. This is something you took on by yourself. The fact that you did this by yourself, and you have construction experience, so I think that gives you a heads up or a leg up on a lot of other people who try to navigate this process. But in this case, I think the changes that you made were not approved by us, and to ask us to approve them after the work has been done, I think is just, it's unacceptable to me. So I'm going to open the floor up to other commissioners and try to get a sense of what people think.
Borrow that sheet.
Sure.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I think that a rebuild to the plans originally submitted, and I agree that July 1st would be sufficient time.
Okay. Tom?
I concur with the other board members, that if the applicant goes with the original plan with the distances set out in his first plan, which would entail, I know, a substantial amount of work on the part of the applicant, but it puts it what he originally filed and what we approved. And given that it's big block, it's going to take some time and financial cost, but I kind of think that our hands are tied, just based on what he originally submitted and what was actually done. It differentiates enough that it warrants having the applicant change it back to the original, what he originally planned to do in the scope of work.
Okay, thank you. Patrick, any thoughts?
I generally agree. I think since there's a substantial change from what was originally submitted, but also knowing full well that it may require, further excavations to push back the wall. He may have to take a few trees, so we might have to review that. But if he could complete the work in a timely fashion back to what he originally submitted to us and originally approved, I feel like that's necessary.
Okay. Michelle?
Again, I applaud the fact that you were trying to, what I'm hoping is not only beautify your property, but also protect the lake, because that is going to be a resource and a selling point for you in the future. And I think that you're going to need to recognize that cart path that you were saying that you were just going to be bringing a golf cart down and stabilizing that as quickly as possible. The runoff into the lake is just going to make the weed problem that we know we have a problem with, and especially on that side, even more of a problem going forward. So, yes, I mean, again, as least of an impact on that waterway is going to be best. Again, trying to restore it back to what it originally was, or what you can do to the original plan, what was approved, is the best course of action without impacting the water, is what I think is going to be the best course of action.
All right, thank you. Megan, any comments?
I just really have a question. I don't think I have been part of a, we voted and issued a negative,
No, we didn't.
he did not ask for a certificate of compliance. I'm saying this to you, but I hope you know what I mean. If we were to not issue, to vote and not issue a compliance, certificate of compliance, what would be the immediate next step at that point?
Well, all right, to answer your question, what applicants do is after they submit a plan, and in fact, I believe we required Mr. DeFutis to provide us with an as-built plan anyway. So in this instance, where the work that has been done on the property substantially deviates from what was approved, we could not issue a certificate of compliance. Therefore, that order of conditions could act as a cloud on the title were he to transfer the property at a later date. In most cases, the reason we get requests, or the reason why a certificate of compliance is requested, is because there's an interest in transferring title. I will also tell you that in certain instances, some banks will not provide, or lenders will not provide funds, like in the form of a mortgage, unless an order of conditions has been discharged by means of a certificate of compliance. So that's really the purpose behind it.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. DeFutis, I know you participated in this process. I think we have made a decision. I don't know if there's anything you want to say, sir. We will issue a letter to you, pretty much memorializing what we've discussed this evening. Mr. DeFutis, do you have any comments? If Mr. DeFutis, if you have no comments, then we will move on to the next item on our agenda for other business. So I'm advised we have received complaints about wood pallets being placed across or in the vicinity of the Rochdale Street brook. Apparently, this is being used as a crossover by youths in that area. I don't think anyone knows at this point who put them there, which makes issuing an enforcement order rather difficult. I don't know if we can ask or request that the DPW go out there and remove the pallets, but that would be my request. So perhaps a letter can go out to the DPW requesting that they remove those pallets. And then if at some point we find out who actually put them there, we can maybe take further action. And then with regard to 190 Washington Street, apparently Mr. Heselton received, was it an email or a phone call?
It was an email today, I believe, while I was out of the office.
Okay, from apparently, was it Phil Caraccio?
It was. Yes, it was.
Okay, so members of the commission will recall Mr. Caraccio coming out at various times when we had issues with 190 Washington Street. Also during the process where we issued our orders of conditions, and also during times when we've issued enforcement orders with respect to that property. So a matter of concern for our commission has been the fact that there are these large dirt piles adjacent to Washington Street that do not appear to have been stabilized. Mr. Caraccio, I think on more than one occasion, assured us that they have been, hydroseeded? Mm-hmm. That they have been hydroseeded so that the piles would be stabilized.
I'll be recorded.
Can you identify yourself, please? Please, sir.
Jeremy? Hello, sorry about that. This is Tony DeFutis. I was having technical problems on the computer.
Okay, Mr. DeFutis, did you hear what we had to say before?
I did. I would like to make a couple of comments just for your review.
Okay.
That first wall, everyone keeps saying that I'm closer to the lake than I was. I am not. That first wall matches the original drawing. What I did was eliminate the middle wall and make two walls higher. We did less disturbance to the same area, not more, than original plans. We had no effect on the lake. And if you guys cannot seem to decipher the print plans and look at it for what it was with the original measurements, I'll be happy to appeal this, and we'll look at it in court.
Sir, you have every right to do so if you wish to.
I do. So I can file an appeal right now.
Well, actually, I don't think you can file appeal until you hear from us officially, but again, sir, there's nothing precluding you from having this reviewed.
Okay,
All right,
so I'll wait for the paperwork. Thank you.
thank you. Good evening. Anyway, so we've been told, I think on more than one occasion by Mr. Caraccio that the dirt piles, and there are several of them, have been hydroseeded and would be stabilized. Well, we went out there recently a couple of weeks ago, and there's no evidence that they have been. And I understand. I mean, it's a large site. It's understandable that there are things around the site that I wasn't thrilled with specifically, but I also recognize that there are certain engineering practices or best management practices that can be followed, and based on my observation, they are not being followed. And specifically, I haven't seen any proof that those dirt piles have been hydroseeded or stabilized. So this is now, I think, the second time we've brought this up as an issue, maybe even the third. And the applicant is not here tonight, so I question how seriously they took our was it an enforcement order or just a letter?
Just a letter was sent.
Okay. So, as the commission knows, we have the ability to find recalcitrant parties. My thought speaking only for myself, is that we give them a deadline and advise them that if they do not hydroseed and do not provide us with evidence of hydroseeding those dirt piles or taking other steps to stabilize those piles, by June 1st, that we can start, or that we begin finding them a certain amount of money to be decided by the commission. So I wanted to hear from the rest of you on what you thought about that.
Sir, may I speak up? I'm here remotely.
And who are you?
And I am, sorry, my name is Mark Stella.
I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't catch your last name.
I'm sorry, Michella.
McKellen, okay, and who do you represent?
I represent J.M. Poole.
So we're going to get to you shortly.
And, okay, okay, I wasn't sure if this was related.
No, you're next.
Okay, thank you.
No worries, so stand by. So anyway,
yes, sir.
With respect to Eastland Partners and 190, what are your thoughts? So we know how Catherine feels. What do you think, Patrick?
So as much as I agree that they should be stabilized and provide proof, I have concerns that it's an active construction site and it is a material pile, that it is quite easy, and they have moved these piles many times. So unfortunately, I think hydroseeding, even if they did do it, would only last a month before they moved that pile. Or, they took down half of the pile and then half of it's unstable. So, they put heavy machinery into it, remove the pile, and then half of that whole open face and open cut is unstabilized again. We have the same issue.
So do you think there's a better way to stabilize it? Throw nets over it?
I mean, they could net it. They could also say that they're not going to move the piles from where they are, because, that happens a lot, and often they put them up as fast as they can take them down. So if they were all in one location and they had just one material staging area and, had that in writing, I think along with the proof of stabilization, that would be better.
All right, that's fair.
I think that, have they put those silt socks back in any of the drainage? Have they corrected any of the other things that we were talking about?
Oh, and the
beyond,
pool, yeah.
Beyond the piles, did they correct any of the other, or address any of the other?
So why don't we do this? How about, let's send another letter. And
You're right. I have to agree with him, because I have been noticing that. They have moved it, and I don't think that they said that they seeded it. I think that they said that they put some kind of
A spray.
a spray, like a coating on it.
Yeah.
That would actually kind of hold it in place.
Like what, super glue?
Yeah, like super glue. I didn't really understand what that was, but they didn't say that they seeded it. It was some kind of a spray or something that they said that was going to hold it in place. But they have been moving that pile. Have they resprayed it? They have moved the piles. I think that the bigger issue is kind of keeping them away from, as they move them, keeping them as far away from the wetland as they can, making sure that those silt socks are cleaned and put in place and always there, I think is going to be our better course of action. And if that, we'll keep checking it. If those aren't done, then we are going to fine you immediately. If we go there and see it, then we fine you.
So how about if we do this? How about if we send, I'm taking your points, or trying to reconcile them. Why don't we send them another letter, and say that, and we can schedule it for the 25th, since I don't think we have a lot on currently, and say that we want basically a status report on the site, on the state of the site, where they are in terms of their construction sequence, where they are in terms of, to your point, with the dirt piles, what their intentions are, methods of stabilizing it, steps they're taking to use best management practices at the site.
Through the chair?
Yeah.
They're probably using Procore and other kind of construction software even for the site work, so they probably have a schedule as far as when they plan on doing certain phases, even though they're still, from what I understand, they still have those parcels available for sale. They're not sold yet, but I'm sure they have some kind of a scope of work and a planned schedule with times and dates of when they plan to move some of that large piles of earth around.
I understand that, and what I don't understand is, I know, for example, for Lot 3, which is 2 Commerce Drive, that was not a pad-ready site. I mean,
Right.
and so they had, the owner, whoever purchased it, obviously made it pad-ready, and they're, as we know from going out there, they're doing that. So I don't know if their intention is to, they were proposing, 3 separate lots? So I don't know if their intention is to, if they're not under contract, if they're going to make them pad ready, or still hope to get people to come in, buy them, and then have them do the work, And, I mean, yeah, it's a construction site. It's a huge parcel of property, but it seems to me there are things they can do to stabilize it a little bit better. So how does that sound? Basically have them come in with a status report, provide us with their scope of work and their timetable. Because if memory serves, I thought they indicated to us they hope to get it completed by the summer.
Done. Yes, they did.
So,
But I think that, again, I feel like we keep giving them, if you don't do it, we're gonna fine you. Like, I think that at some point, we have to just say, look, this is really gonna happen. Like, we are really going to fine you.
Okay.
We've given you enough time to make sure that the stuff was stabilized, that those silt socks were in place, that they were done. We were going there, they're still not done. We talked to you about it, we've already addressed this with you. You've had enough time.
okay. So what do you propose?
Like,
You wanna find it?
if we go on site and those things are not in place, we are going to start fining you.
Okay. So, do you want to do that before the 25th?
I think that should be open. I think that should be, yes, come in on the 25th. But if we go on site and those silt socks are not in place,
Okay.
we will fine you.
All right. I think we can draft a letter along those lines.
There's an additional issue that I remember discussing, which was the failure of their sediment forebay. It was their first. They said that they would manually go down there and pull sediment out in wheelbarrows and out. Whether or not that actually occurred is unclear, but also the fact that the structures themselves were failing was never really addressed, but it should be, because it absolutely failed and left out of the southern wall of their BMP, instead of flowing through the structure that they had built and into eventually the wetland.
That's exactly it.
Right.
Let's look back and see, okay, they said that they were gonna do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
That these things were going to be completed, that they were going to be done. And yet, when we go there,
Right.
All right. Point taken. So, I think there's an agreement they need to be here on the 25th, that they are not excused from not attending, that we are disappointed they did not come tonight, and that we actually insist that they appear at the next meeting on May 25th. Show us what they've done to address the concerns we've raised in our previous enforcement orders. show us what they've done to comply with the order of conditions. And if we see continuing evidence that they haven't done that, that we will begin to levy fines.
Right.
Okay.
And that we are going out there, that we are paying attention. We are.
I know that.
And just more for the record, has anyone seen if they've moved the gas cans, the generators,
That's
the
the next,
debris?
that's the next topic of
That's for
discussion.
two comments.
That's the other lot, right?
Yes, it is.
So, all right, along the lines of what I've described, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we issue a letter to Phil Caraccio to appear at our next meeting on May 25th and present the items that you discussed, Mike, that we all discussed, scope of work, timetable, what their plans are, and if they don't submit such thing, that they will be subject to enforcement, including fines.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. All right, and the next item, and the last item, is 2 Commerce Drive. And we have someone on the phone.
Yes, this is Mark Michelle.
Okay, Mark, how do you spell your last name?
Moschella.
Okay, very good. So we have been out to the site on more than one occasion, and I believe you're aware of the fact that we had issued an enforcement order because there have been construction activity within 25-foot, within our 25-foot no-build zone. There were also other issues with respect to the location of gas cans and a generator. We went out to the site probably, 2 weeks ago, or was it 3 weeks
It
ago?
was probably 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
And there was a, through the chair?
Yes, please.
And there was a gentleman out there that was out on the site. He pulled in and he had his dog with him. And from what I understand, he's the project manager. He was actually in the process of going to another site. I don't remember the gentleman's name.
Yep, that was David Drugi. He was our initial superintendent.
Yep.
He's currently moved to another job. Yep.
Okay, now, I discussed with him at length, and at first, he got kind of abrasive with me, and that's okay. I get it. But I discussed what our concerns were, and he assured me that once the building was up and all that steel was moved because of the limited space, that he would have the generator moved like we had asked him. Now, he did have containment measures in, and I looked at everything and we considered it. And for the time being, that was acceptable. But I did notice on a couple of occasions driving by there in the last couple of weeks, sir, that there was at least 4 pieces of heavy equipment down there, including a uke, one of those big dump trucks for hauling away big boulders. And I think to park them right there where the wetland is kind of like a slap in this board's face. I wish I had the time to go down and take pictures, but what I would like to see, and I suggest to the board immediately, is that we will issue an enforcement order and have you remove all those equipment as far as you can use it during the day, but do not store it within 100 feet of that area. And when this building is up, he had some trap rock down. I think it was 3/4 or 1 inch stone. It was a very small area, so I got that gentleman's points, but that stuff all needs to be moved on the other side of the trailer and from the wetland area, because it encroaches, it's right next to it. I mean, the borderline's right there, the flag's right there. And
So just so I understand your area and I'm oriented correctly, you're talking about the area around the trailer and behind the trailer,
behind
correct?
the trailer, correct, yep, and it's right there, like where the generator is really close to it. He did have the containment measure in place, but generally speaking, he assured me that once that more work was done, because they had all the steel, all the structural steel and everything over there ready to build the building, that once that was put up, and it looks like you guys have gotten it going, that all that equipment needs to go on the other side of the trail and away from the wetland.
Okay, no problem at all.
The other issue that we have is that it appears that there was another encroachment into the 25-foot no-build zone. And it was in the same area that we had complained about previously. And so I don't know.
Okay.
And, well, okay is fine, but we don't want it to happen again. And I thought...
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying okay as I understand. I didn't mean okay. The issue is okay.
Okay, all right. it's not okay with us. And this is the area adjacent, if you're looking at the, oh boy, I don't know what the direction is, but it's the area that was the subject of our previous enforcement order. And we found that there was an encroachment in the 25-foot no-build zone again in the same area. So I think there's a problem with translation here. I think someone is not getting the message that, you can't, obviously it's an area that's being cleared. There are materials being stored adjacent to the building being constructed. I think we understand that, but the area that encroached in the 25-foot no-build zone isn't really necessary for the storage of materials. I think someone was maybe either didn't recognize or didn't know what 25 feet meant, or they were careless, and we can't tolerate that. We're a regulatory body, and we believe we apply the law fairly, and we want our applicants to comply with the law. I think that's fair.
Absolutely.
So
I think, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I've had my chance to speak. Why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand too, because the letter that we received for tonight's meeting, aside from the discussion you said you had with David, the office didn't receive any other enforcement letters. In fact, the letter we got for this meeting was mailed to the wrong address. Mm-hmm. And we just got it in our mail in our office today. That's why I'm joining remotely. I couldn't make it down to Auburn in time.
Okay. Well, Mr. Hoyt, can you join us on Saturday?
I'm sorry?
Can you join us this Saturday?
I cannot make it down there on Saturday. I'm sorry.
Can there be?
But I'd be happy to schedule a site meeting at any point during the week, just to review with everybody the concerns and make sure that our proposed fixes are within everyone's approval. Mm-hmm. We want to do everything within the book here. We're not trying to cut corners.
The problem is that all of us, I think, have day jobs, and so that might be rather difficult. What time would you propose to do this?
Mark, at any time. I mean, we could meet at any point between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
Or if you just want to detail, a little follow-up, just detailing the certain areas of the site. Just so we understand you completely, because it is a large site.
I think it'd be better to do it in person. So,
I agree.
Do we have your contact information? I mean, like a phone number or an email?
Sure.
Okay. So
my cell is.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Yep. 617. Mm-hmm. 429.
Yep.
7576.
Okay. And what's your email address?
So my email is my first initial last name. So MMOSCHELLA, and that's at jmcool.com. And that's JMCOULL.com.
Okay. I missed the first part. Can you give me the first part again, please?
Sure. It's the first initial of my name, so M as in Mark.
Yep.
And then my last name, so Michelle. So it's MM, 2M.
Yep.
OS as in Sam.
Okay.
CH. ELLA.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll confer with other commissioners and we'll see if we can set something up for the next week or two. Our next meeting is going to be May
Okay, that'd be great.
25th, and I think we'd like to have some sort of action plan in place before that meeting. Okay?
Sure, I think that's very fair.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Good night. Is there any other business?
Through the chair, did we address item 2?
Oh, we have not addressed item, well, actually, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, we do.
Go look at
I apologize.
You're talking about, are you talking about Holstrom Court?
Holstrom Court?
We're
yeah.
going to take a seat, we're going to walk the site.
Okay, thank you. I apologize.
Because we also have to check out 85 Rochdale Street.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I apologize.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Did we ever get the samples back or report back for, whatever the address is behind Fuller's and the other place? Did we ever get the report back from that?
We got something from Art Allen, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
It would have been before the last meeting, I believe.
yeah.
I don't know.
I might even have a copy of it.
Oh, we have it, we have a copy of
Yeah,
it.
Okay. What was it determined to be?
There's a well in there.
there's a big
Yeah, I
one.
know.
But basically, at our last meeting, we encouraged the abutters there to come up with some sort of mitigating measures, you
Okay.
know? And they, said they would, but I think we have to be maybe a little more proactive.
Okay.
So the problem, it definitely arises during the winter because they take their snow, even though they shouldn't, and they push it back there. So, there's a concern because, there are automotive facilities, there's a concern about waste oil and that sort of thing encroaching or finding its way down into the well. And so I think there are steps that can be taken, not expensive steps to try to mitigate that. Okay. Is there any other new business?
Are we gonna do site visits this Saturday?
I'd like to. Well, we only have a couple.
Yeah, it should be
We've
pretty quick.
got, we could actually, what's that?
Is it-
I know, except for you.
I can't make it either.
Okay.
Okay, jeez.
Sorry.
That's all right. So I mean,
I hate to make it a quorum, but I also cannot make it.
So we do how about the following Saturday?
I can maybe do it the next Saturday, but I won't be able to, oh, no, I won't be able to.
Trying to think what's the next Saturday date.
I could do it during the week. I could do it during the week.
so you do it during the week and you.
Yeah, I can. I could do it during the
You
week.
can report
And
to
then I'll
us.
just write a report.
So, Tom, I guess it's you and me, maybe Megan. Megan, you still there? No, she's gone. No, she's there.
Yes,
Would you be available on Saturday for some sidewalks?
yes, I could go Saturday.
Okay, good.
We
So
want
I thought we could do 85 Rochdale.
First, okay.
We could do Holstrom Court for the request for certificate of compliance. And then since, we just love going there, we can go back to 190 Washington Street and to Commerce Drive, maybe take some pictures.
Sounds good.
Okay. Is there any other business? If there is no business, no new business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? People are eager.
I am.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. All right, everyone, thank you very much for participating. I'll see some of you on Saturday, and I'll see
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock. And
9
I'll see the
o'clock.
rest of you in 2 weeks.
All right.
All right,
See you then.
good night.
I wouldn't believe the number of baby showers.